At the same time, is China the most significant strategic competitor for the coming decades and the most serious threat to U.S. national security? With a rapidly expanding military and the ability to reshape the international order to Beijing's liking, China the most significant strategic competitor? Despite Russia's cruel and unprovoked conflict in Ukraine, China remains the United States' greatest threat. That is according to the new Pentagon National Plan. It portrays Russia as a dangerous but declining world power. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and greetings. Today's video will show China overtaking the West, so stay focused. You won't believe that unlike China, Russia cannot long-term challenge the United States, but Russian aggression poses an urgent and direct threat to the interests and values of the U.S. Putin's reckless war of choice against Ukraine is the greatest threat to European security. That has been extremely evident to the world since the end of World War II. Russia, according to the Pentagon, possesses 2,000 tactical weapons. The National Defense Plan warns that Vladimir Putin may use nuclear weapons to win a war or avert defeat if he is in danger of losing, citing Ukraine as an. This accomplishment validates China's approach as an alternative to Western liberal norms. The world is changing at a rate not witnessed in a century, and the moment has come for substantial progress and transformation. However, the U.S. and its allies perceive this authoritarian template as dangerous to their democratic ideals. Democracy does not happen by chance. We must defend, fight for, enhance, and renew it. We must demonstrate that our model is not a remnant of the past. We used to believe that the U.S.-China rivalry was primarily about economic leadership or military dominance in the Western Pacific. It is also a rivalry of systems and whether those systems can operate sufficiently in the 21st century. And the worldwide epidemic and its aftershocks have only exacerbated tensions between these incompatible systems. This is the first global crisis in which the U.S. has failed to lead the West. Was that the year when Asian countries, particularly China, suddenly appeared to be on top again? So what does it mean for the globe as two superpowers clash, not just over trade or borders, but also over ideology? As far as the astronaut countdown goes, 3 hours, 4 minutes, 32 seconds and counting. While the United States launched a man on the moon in the 1960s, China was battling to feed its 1 billion people during the decade-long Cultural Revolution. Both countries were experiencing societal turmoil in the 1960s. The U.S. was coping with racial reckoning and the civil rights movement. At the same time, the economic situation was favorable. On the other hand, China had a time of social turmoil during which the economy was entirely stagnant and wrecked by socialist agriculture policies, resulting in massive starvation. Many educated people in Beijing were transferred to the countryside. All of this came at a high cost to the economy. Following Mao Zedong's death in 1976, Deng Xiaoping's reforms pushed China to prioritize economic growth, even if it contradicted core communist philosophy. Deng was one of China's most powerful leaders, and he was largely responsible for today's China. This was going to be a memorable night. Mao pushed him aside during the Cultural Revolution, only to be brought back and rehabilitated afterward. And he launched the reforms, the reform and opening up phase that led to China's economic miracle. I had a great time putting it on for the photographers and waving to the crowd. He reintroduced China to the world arena and exposed it to foreign investors for the first time since the Cultural Revolution. The country became more accessible to private enterprise and foreign investment. Dominant state-owned banks used savings to finance roads, train linkages, and ports, while foreign enterprises were compelled to start up with a local partner, promoting knowledge transfer. As a result, the economy grew 9 times as fast over the next 4 decades. Deng Xiaoping never had a clear vision of how China will appear after the reform process. It was quite experimental. Thus, various changes were first implemented in specific places to test whether they would work, and after they appeared to work, other localities were permitted to try them. The absence of the United States government under President Donald Trump from leading a response during the early stages of the pandemic and the subsequent catastrophic death toll in America caused many, including Beijing, to question the strength of its model. COVID has undoubtedly had the same effect on Chinese leaders. Under Xi Jinping, assertiveness means doubling down on boundary conflicts in the South China Sea and along the border with India, and attempting to cement control in Tibet and Hong Kong. Xi Jinping has highlighted this. To overcome what they call China's century of humiliation, a group of foreign powers ran over China and forced them to sign exploitative trade agreements, which drove the Chinese political environment. Everything done cannot be considered a bow to the West. China must reclaim its rightful place on the global scene. And you can see China today on a global scale opposing the U.S. leadership role, as well as the role of the West more broadly, in attempting to tell China how to run its government, country, and economy. During key areas of Chinese history, many domestic and foreign actions were undoubtedly motivated by ideology because the People's Republic of China was founded on communism. But the Chinese Communist Party is no longer interested in exporting socialism or fomenting communist revolutions worldwide. Their policies are not ideologically motivated. I believe that much of their activity is motivated by a desire to preserve China's interests, and that if you asked people in China if there is an ideological conflict, they could respond, yes, the ideology is coming from the West. As this ideological conflict intensifies, it permeates all parts of the global economy. Why is technology such a thorny issue in the U.S.-China relationship? It is due, in part, to the fact that technological innovation in areas such as artificial intelligence will shape the balance of economic and military power in this century. Still, it is also due to the massive implications of those technologies for the ideological struggle between authoritarianism and democracy. China, for example, is attempting to build what can be best described as a high-tech police state at home, using a combination of big data, artificial intelligence, and other technologies to monitor and regulate the population's behavior. Technology is just one of many potential flashpoints. While China accuses the U.S. of fomenting pro-democracy rallies in Hong Kong, Washington condemns the widespread incarceration of Uyghurs in Xinjiang. The Biden administration is also taking steps to defend its model, such as increasing manufacturing self-sufficiency spending and boosting connections with Taiwan. We are amidst a profound discussion about our world's destiny and direction. They say that autocracy is the best way ahead, and those who recognize that democracy is vitally essential to confronting these difficulties, I think that democracy will and must prevail with every fiber of my being. This is not the first time Americans and citizens in other democratic democracies have expressed concern that dictatorial models may become the norm. We experienced something similar during the Great Depression, and we saw something similar in various regions of the world following World War II. In retrospect, the vulnerabilities of democracies always appear more evident at the moment because those deficiencies are visible to all. In contrast, autocratic governments like China strive to conceal their failings and weaknesses diligently. In addition to potential financial and demographic issues, further concerns about the viability of a China model may emanate from within the country. According to the China model, you can increase the economy while maintaining the one-party rule. At the same time, there are legitimate concerns about how long this can be sustained as your people become wealthier, more educated, and more integrated with the world, with ideas from other places, aspirations for better livelihoods, and more say. Simultaneously, how does Xi Jinping hand over authority one day, and when does he step down? At this time, the sustainability of the China model is unknown. In that case, that is a far more competitive power than China has faced thus far.